Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the internet, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an honor and privilege to have you guys joining me here today as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies, movie news, a little bit of television, maybe a few other things here and there when we feel up to it. Listen, guys, we got a lot of stuff to cover today, so let's not waste any time, and we'll dive into it with this. One of the most successful animated franchise in cinematic history is the Shrek series. Now, it was a little bit hit and miss from time to time. Some of them were great, some of them not so great, but they always made, the studios a lot of money. Always made them a lot of money. So it should come as no surprise that I believe it was Variety this morning exclusively broke news that Universal Studios is looking at rebooting not only Shrek, but his spin-off character, Puss in Boots. That's right. It looks like Shrek and Puss in Boots are coming back to the big screen in what they're referring to as a reboot. A reboot? Okay, well, here's the thing. A reboot is an interesting idea because it has been a number of years since we've had Shrek on screen. Shrek, while family-friendly, unlike other Pixar films, not that Shrek was a Pixar film, but unlike Pixar films, which are family-friendly, they aren't targeted at kids. Like Pixar movies aren't targeted at kids. They're targeted at families, which means they're kid-friendly, but also have a lot of humor in there that are meant for the adults as well, and everybody enjoys. Shrek is also family-friendly, but a little bit more kid-targeted than I would think. So the idea of rebooting Shrek now is not that crazy of an idea because you have a whole new generation of kids, right? It's a whole new generation of kids. So you're not really worried about the larger general movie-going audience. You got a whole new generation of kids. Rebooting's not that terrible of an idea, in principle. Now, the question, though, is, are they really rebooting it? Well, sort of yes, sort of no. The guy who is kind of overseeing Illumination Studios, who is owned by Universal, and he's going to be overseeing the whole Shrek relaunch. He was talking in terms of reboot, but then he kind of used some words talking about like it's not a reboot. For example, he's talking about bringing back all the original voice cast, including Eddie Murphy, Mike Myers. You've got Antonio Banderas. He's talking about bringing them all back. So is it really a reboot? Here's what he had to say when talking about this. He said the following: "When you look back on those vocal performances, they're awesome. And while you certainly could make a case for a complete reinvention, I find myself responding to my own nostalgic feeling of wanting to go back to those characterizations. The challenge for us has been to find something that really does feel like it's not simply yet another film in a series of sequels." Of course, that is Chris Meledandri. Let's see if I can pronounce his name right. Meledandri. I believe it's Meledandri. He is, of course, the head of Illumination. So he's talking about wanting to capture the nostalgia of Shrek while not completely reinventing the wheel, yet not doing movies that just feel like they're continuation of the franchise. And the articles go on to talk about how one of the challenges that they're going to be facing there is to create these new Shrek environments that feel like a reboot, but aren't really a reboot? Okay, whatever. I'm confused. They're not being very clear on what the whole reboot issue is. So let's set that part of it aside, and let's talk for a second about the notion of new Shrek films. I'll be honest with you, I'm all up for it. Like I said, one or two of the Shrek films, not so great. Couple of them are wonderful. The first one's wonderful. I thought Shrek 2 was even better than Shrek 1. I find them funny and entertaining. And yes, they're not always great, but they certainly carry with them the potential for a really good time at the theater. So now, they haven't set any, definite dates or times, or if 100% these things are green light. They're just saying that Universal has given him the responsibility, the head of Illumination, to get this franchise going again. I'm all up for it. I don't mind the reboot idea. I don't mind bringing it back. I'll look forward to it. There are some potential drawbacks, but what do you guys think? Are you guys up for seeing more Shrek films? Do you think they have the potential to be good? Obviously, they have potential to be bad. Jump down to the comments section and let me know what you think. All right, with that out of the way off the top, let's get to our main topics today. Now, how do we select our main topics? It's very simple. You guys select our main topics by emailing me your topic or question to John at thejohncampeashow.com. That's John at thejohncampeashow.com. When you email me, guys, make sure you put the word topic in the subject line. And as always, keep those emails to 90 words or less. And maybe you'll see your email pop up on the John Campea Show. All right, let's get to the first email today. And the first email today comes to us from Jesse Barnes, who writes, "Hey, John, I saw on your Twitter that you and Ann went to the Wreck-It Ralph premiere. I really liked the first one, so I've been a bit nervous about a sequel letdown. Without giving any spoilers, how does this one stand up?" All right, thanks a lot for the email, Jesse. And yes, last night, my wife Ann and I went to the El Capitan Theater in Hollywood. That's right across the street from the Dolby Theater where they hold the Oscars, and right across the street from the Chinese Theater as well. It's very iconic Hollywood spot right there. You got the El Capitan, you got the Chinese, you got the Dolby Theater. Anyway, it's a very iconic spot. Lots of stuff goes on down there. So Ann and I ran down there last night to go to the Wreck-It Ralph 2 premiere, or Ralph Breaks the Internet. Look, I'm just going to call it Wreck-It Ralph 2, okay? There you go. So we went down. Now, it was really funny. We remembered that we were actually at the first Wreck-It Ralph premiere as well. That was in the same theater. If you're wondering what Anne's dressed like there, Anne is dressed like Princess Jasmine in her pajamas. If you remember in the trailer when they're showing all the Disney princesses, there's a scene where all the Disney princesses are in pajamas sort of things. Anne dressed up as that, and she looked amazing as that last night. A lot better than I did, obviously, but that's not exactly hard. So anyway, we went to that, and then we went to the after party. And at the after party, they had this booth where it would create you as an internet citizen in Wreck-It Ralph. And so they put together my avatar, apparently of what I would look like as Wreck-It Ralph if I was transported into the internet in Wreck-It Ralph. That is apparently what I would look like. So I don't know. You guys tell me. Is that me? I don't know. But that's what they came up with, and I thought it looked kind of like me a little bit. So anyway, yes. Now, right now, here's the funny thing. I was getting ready to give my review because 99% of the time, once a movie has its premiere, there's no longer a review embargo. Once a movie has its premiere, there's no longer a review embargo. So I was all ready, and when I went through all my premiere invitations and my other screening invitations, there is nothing mentioned about a review embargo. Not a single word. So I was getting ready this morning to do my review embargo. And at the last second, I double check the Rotten Tomatoes meter just to see where Wreck-It Ralph is at. And there were no reviews. So I'm like, what the hell? So I email one of the Disney reps saying, "Hey, I'm about to review this movie. Is there a review embargo?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, review embargo's next week." And I'm like, well, thanks for telling me. So here's the thing though. So I cannot review the movie here. But what I can do is they lifted the embargo on social media reactions. So I'll tell you what my just basic reaction is. Thumbs up. Fun time. I'm not sure. Now, you guys remember how much I love the first Wreck-It Ralph? I just went crazy for that movie. I love that. I'm not quite sure that I liked Wreck-It Ralph 2 quite as much as the first one, but it is a bang-on good time. It really is. It is a bang-on good time. It's deeper than the first one. They take some deep cuts in this movie. It's fun. It's enjoyable. Tons of good laughs. Using pop culture references, but in a meaningful way, unlike the Emoji Movie, which just threw out pop cultural references for the sake of having pop culture references. All the pop culture references in Wreck-It Ralph had meaning. So it was really great. Now, I can't say much more about it. I'll do my full review next week. But listen, I'm not the only one who gave my reactions. A bunch of other critics have seen the film. They've started putting up their reactions online. Here's what some of them had to say. Eric Eisenberg, our friend from over there at Cinema Blend, writes, "Ralph Breaks the Internet is great, super funny, creative, and charming with the same kind of character-based emotional core that made the first one so special. It's a really fun follow-up, very happy." Meg Downey from IGN writes, "Ralph Breaks the Internet was much funnier as a trailer. It's absolutely not a movie for people who work on or use the internet regularly." Well, I don't know about that, Meg. I'm somebody who works on the internet regularly, and it was definitely for me, but at any rate. And that's okay, but it's definitely not for me. So see, not everybody loved Wreck-It Ralph 2. Scott Menzel writes, "Ralph Breaks the Internet is better than the original in every way." Not sure I agree with that, but it is great. Huge laughs and plenty of heart. The princess sequence will more than likely become one of the most memorable scenes in 2018. Be sure to stay through the credits for even more laughs. I'm pissed off because I didn't stay through the credits. Ann and I Anna and I were so anxious to get to the after party. As soon as the credits started to roll, we left, and then I'm hearing everybody talking about the post-credit scene, and I missed out, but whatever. Peter Soretta from Slash Film writes, good news, Disney didn't screw up Ralph Breaks the Internet, but it's not as great as the first. A lot of laugh-out-loud moments, but the character-driven emotional center, deeper dissection of the internet's pitfalls and toxic relationships elevates it. Stick through the credits. Again, I didn't stick through the credits. Courtney Howard writes, Ralph Breaks the Internet is full of heart, sweet charm, and subversive smarts. The princess stuff kills, obviously, but the A Place Called Slaughter Race song sequence is a spectacular show. Jermaine Lucier writes, the best thing about Ralph Breaks the Internet is that it has huge heart. That, along with some surprising subtexts, elevate what's already a surprising, funny, exciting movie. It's a sequel equal to its predecessor. And finally, Charles Ridley writes, diehard Disney fans are going to love this. So many fun references and Easter eggs from Disney, Pixar, and Marvel. Plus, the princesses are perfect. They have way more than you think, and people will be talking about this for a long time. And look, by the way, I've got to agree. The princess stuff, which I thought it looked like would be a cute little shtick for a minute or two. The princess stuff in this movie really works. I'm going to tell you something right now. The best joke in the movie, I'm not going to give it away, but it has something to do with a studio. So I'm going to say, the best joke in the movie about a studio comes from the princess stuff. When you see this movie, pay very close attention to everything that's going on in the princess stuff, because there's so much stuff in there. It's kind of hard to keep up with it. So there you have it, guys. There are all the initial reactions to Wreck-It Ralph 2, Ralph Breaks the Internet. Not everybody loves it. Some think it's better than the first. Some, like me, don't think it's quite as good as the first. I'll go into a more in-depth review again next week, but those are the first reactions coming online. How much are you guys looking forward to this movie? Little hint, you should be looking forward to it because it's a pretty damn good time. All right, let's move on now to the second email. And the second email today comes to us from Manny Garcia, who writes, Hey, John, the Deadpool movie just got a title, Once Upon a Deadpool. The movie has a new movie rating, a new title, and a few new scenes. Is this still considered a re-release or a whole new movie? Would the box office sales still go towards Deadpool 2? Good question. Or would this movie have its own box office numbers? All right, thanks a lot for the question, Manny. And what Manny's referring to is we've all known that an untitled re-release of Deadpool 2 was coming on December 21st, right in that murderer's row of movies coming out. We've known that. We've known, at least it was heavily suggested, it was going to be kind of a Deadpool 2, just kind of made PG-13. And now we know more. Yes, it does have a title. The official title of this release is called Once Upon a Deadpool, and they're calling it the 12 Days of Deadpool because no longer is it releasing on December 21st, but rather it's releasing on December 12th and will run for 12 days. It will have its final evening, I believe, on Christmas Eve. So they're calling it the 12 Days of Deadpool, opening December 21st, and the official title of the movie is Once Upon a Deadpool. Now, so basically what we now know about the film, it is a PG-13 cut of Deadpool. And it's going to be intercut with what they call framing scenes. Framing scenes are like you go to a narrator who sets up what's about to happen. It was used a lot in Princess Bride with the grandfather and little Fred Savage in bed. Now, of course, what we now know is that Ryan Reynolds and an adult Fred Savage have reshot all those framing scenes. So they're going to be going back and forth between the framing scenes of Deadpool and Fred Savage in bed and then going back to the movie and back and forth and back and forth. And personally, I think this is a marvelous idea. Here's another interesting little quip about this. Apparently, this is also going to be for charity. $1 for every movie ticket sold to Once Upon a Deadpool is going to be given to the charity Fuck Cancer. But because this is a PG-13 cut of the movie, they're calling the charity Fudge Cancer, which I thought was pretty fun. So, okay, let's now just talk about the whole Deadpool 2 nature of this thing. I thought Deadpool 2 was fantastic. I am still to this day not really sure if I prefer it even more than the first Deadpool. They both have some strengths. They both have some weaknesses. I think the first Deadpool is a top 10 comic book movie of all time. I think the first Deadpool is a top 10 comic book movie of all time. And I'm not sure if Deadpool 2 is or not, but it's fantastic as well. This whole notion of going back in there, framing it up as a Princess Bride sort of thing, I'm sure there's going to be new gags and new jokes with the transformation of it going from an R to a PG-13. I'm sure there's going to be references to the Disney takeover of Fox as a part of the reason why they're going to PG-13. I think that's going to be hilarious. I'm really looking forward to it. Now, to your question, though, about for box office considerations, is Once Upon a Deadpool going to just be considered Deadpool 2? And as we've seen in re-releases, the box office numbers for re-releases go towards the box office totals of the main film. Will that be the case here? Or is Once Upon a Deadpool just going to be considered its own standalone movie for purposes of box office tracking? I don't know the answer to that. My guess, however, is, and it's only a guess, just to be clear, this is only a guess, but my guess is that it's going to count towards the overall Deadpool box office. That's my guess at this point. So whether or not that's true, we will find out on December 12th when the 12 Days of Deadpool comes out. Personally, I love this. I think it's great. I'm looking forward. I'm going to rush out to the theater to see this thing for sure. Let's see how it all turns out. All right, let's move on to the third email today. And the third email today comes to us from Ewan Callister, who writes, I just saw that Mr. Sunday Movies, we like Mr. Sunday Movies around here, had a scoop and said that a young Emperor Sheev Palpatine will be in Star Wars Episode 9, played by former Doctor Who Matt Smith. What do you think of this? Personally, I'd love to see our beloved wicked, bum-faced, lightning-shooting Sith Lord once again. Maybe they'll bring Darth Plagueis. All right, thanks a lot for the question, Ewan. And yes, so Mr. Sunday Movies, who has a podcast called... what's it called? The Weekly Planet, I believe. Not to be confused with The Weekly Hero, but to be fair, he came up with his name first. I always didn't think about that. Anyway, he's got a podcast called The Weekly Planet, which is great. And he talked a little bit about that now understand this, keep this in context. You got to consider this a rumor at this point, because he said he's got a source that he can't name who told him Matt Smith is going to be playing. So somebody not connected with the movies said they had somebody else who is unnamed tell them that this... So there's a few broken telephone wires here. There's a few connect the dots. So let's take this as a solid rumor for now, okay? But Mr. Sunday Movies, who we like, said that he's got a source telling him that Palpatine is going to be in this movie. So that's the reports that are running around right now, is that Matt Smith... Now, we've known for a while that Matt Smith was going to be connected to this. And honestly... if you look at pictures of Matt Smith side by side with Palpatine, listen, the likeness is there. There is a likeness there. So I can see that. But because there's a little bit of a likeness there, it also opens up the door for making false conclusions and false jumps of assumptions. Now, why could this rumor be real? And remember, it is just a rumor. Most likely it's not real, but there are some reasons to consider that it may be plausible. Number one, we've already talked a little bit about the similarities between the performers, the original Palpatine, the new alleged Palpatine. So there is a little bit of similarity there. Okay, you could see that. But also, there was another rumor that went around a while ago that had some traction that said at some point in the movie, Kylo Ren is going to discover an old recording, a Sith holocron probably, of Emperor Palpatine, and that Palpatine would appear in the movie that way. Well, if that were true, and if this rumor were true, why do you need a young Matt Smith? I don't know. Are they going to do flashbacks? I don't know. But listen, when you go to the Star Wars wiki page, and in Battlefront 2, we all know that if you played Battlefront 2 or watched some of the cutscenes or even saw one of the trailers for it, you know Palpatine has a recorded message from Beyond the Grave. He has a plan from Beyond the Grave. What the Star Wars wiki says is this. Prior to his demise, Palpatine created the contingency to destroy the Empire in the event of his death, believing that the Empire did not deserve to survive without its Emperor. As a consequence, the Imperial remnants were further weakened and less able to resist the New Republic during the waning days of the Galactic Civil War. And once again, that's a comment from the Star Wars Wiki. Now, does this mean that Palpatine is going to be in this movie? Does this definitively mean that Matt Smith is playing a younger version of Sheev Palpatine? No, it doesn't automatically mean that. All I'm doing, though, is throwing up some ideas about why you wouldn't be insane to consider this rumor seriously. Now, personally, I don't think Matt Smith is going to be playing Palpatine, but I think if you're going to be honest, you have to at least say there are some pieces of the puzzle in play here that at least gives a little bit of credence to the whole notion that maybe it's true. Maybe it's true. I still don't think it is. I think they're going to go in a different direction. I don't see how you have for instance, I don't see a purpose for flashback Palpatine. And if you want to do a recorded Palpatine, why do you need a younger actor playing him? So, again, I don't think this is real. I don't think this is true, but I do believe there are enough pieces of the puzzle here that at least give it some credibility if you want to consider that maybe it's real. We'll have to wait and see. What do you guys think? Do you think this rumor is true? Do you think Matt Smith will appear as Emperor Palpatine in the new Star Wars movie? Jump down to the comment section and let me know what you think. All right, with that out of the way, let's move on now to email number 4. And email number 4 today comes to us from our friend Billy Cooper. And Billy Cooper writes, "Oh my God, John, did you hear that it's actually happening? The Deadwood movie they've been talking about for years and years is finally happening and is shooting now. Did you ever have a chance to watch the original show? And what do you think about them coming back to do the movie?" All right, thanks a lot for the email, Billy. And yes, for those of you who may have missed the news, I believe it was late yesterday afternoon, news dropped that after years, maybe almost 12 years of talking about doing a Deadwood movie, I'm sure I'm going to accidentally say Deadpool a couple of times, but the rumors of them talking about doing a Deadwood movie, it's not just talking about it, they're actually shooting right now. Reports have come out that Deadwood has started filming. They are filming the show, and all the key cast are coming back, including Ian McShane, Timothy Olyphant, and of course Molly Parker, who is just amazing. I love Molly Parker. She's so good. So they've started shooting it. It's coming back. Yes, it's back. Back again. Deadwood's back. So here we go, a little bit of Eminem for you. Anyway, I was very late to the party for Deadwood. I never watched Deadwood when it was on. And it was years and years and years later that I remember, this was a few years ago, I was like, all my shows, all the seasons are done. I don't have a lot new to watch. You know what? Everybody's always talking about Deadwood. I'm going to try Deadwood. Binge the whole series in 2 days. Binge the whole series in 2 days. I couldn't stop watching it. It was absolutely fantastic. And it was an unexpected ending. If I'm not mistaken, and I may be mistaken, I think they found out in between seasons that they weren't getting renewed, I think. I think they wrapped up season 3, and I think it went 3 seasons. I think they wrapped up season 3 not knowing they weren't coming back for 4. But at any rate, for a lot of fans, it was very unsatisfying. It's considered by many people to be one of the, if not the greatest show on television in history. I don't think it's the greatest show in television history, but I'd probably put it in the top 15 minimum. Minimum, I would put it in top 15. And a lot of people would put it in top 10, top 5. Like I said, there's a lot of people out there who might even say it's number 1. So they've been talking for years. There have been reports coming out for years that they were going to come back and kind of wrap up the story by doing a movie. Well, here we are now, almost 12 years later, and they're actually shooting it. Now, what's this whole thing going to be about? Well, they went ahead and the report said the following. In the Hollywood Reporter, they wrote, "The movie will be set 10 years after the events of season 3, roughly paralleling the gap between the end of the show and the resumption of production, and will find the characters reuniting to celebrate South Dakota's statehood. Former rivalries are reunited, alliances are tested, and old wounds reopened, with everyone navigating the inevitable changes, time and modernity that have wrought. That, of course, is coming from the Hollywood Reporter. So it is picking up 10 years later. Everybody's coming back together. Where they've been all this time, who knows? I'm sure the movie itself is going to pay some reference to that. Ian McShane. Let's talk about Ian McShane for a second. Ian McShane is great in everything he's in. Even if it's in a bad Pirates of the Caribbean movie, he's great in it. He's got this, what's it called? The American Gods? Is that what's playing right now? He's great in that. He plays Odin in that. He's amazing. But no matter how great he is in everything else, he will never be better than what he was in Deadwood. He was a new kind of television character that we hadn't really ever seen before, and he was amazing. He was so good in that. He was vile, yet we loved him. He did horrible things, yet we cheered for him. I mean, there was something they did with that character that up until that point in television history, we had not seen, or at least not seen very much of. And for them to come back and revisit these characters again, I'm all on board. So I'm stoked about it. It's amazing that it's actually shooting. And I love the fact that we didn't even hear that, yes, it's greenlit and they're going to be shooting in a few months. No, it just came out of nowhere. They're already shooting. I love that. I think that's fantastic. All right, let's move on now to the fifth and final email today. And the fifth and final email today comes to us from Vikran V, who writes, "Hey, John, I live in the New York area, and I just saw that AMC is planning, well, they're more than planning, they've already announced it, is planning on raising the price for their A-List membership from $20 to $24. My question, is the membership still worth it with the price hike? I've been thinking about joining, but I'm not sure if the value is still there at that price. What do you think?" All right, thanks a lot for the email, Vikran. And yes, the best thing in movie going right now is AMC A-List. And I don't even work for those guys anymore. So there you go. AMC A-List is the best thing in movie going right now. $20 a month. You get to go to any movie on any screen, and that includes IMAX, 3D, Prime. You get to book your tickets online in advance, choose your seats, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff, $20 a month, which is ludicrously good. I put up a tweet the other day that in the month of October, October just passed, but in the month of October, I did not use my full 12 movies that you can go and see with it, because you can go up to 3 movies a week with it. So that's roughly works out to be about 12 movies a month. But I did go to see 7 movies with it. I looked at the stubs, and it worked out to be $134 in movie tickets that I got for $20. The deal is amazing. Now, there are some changes coming. Here's what the changes coming are, and then we'll break it down a little bit. So in California, see, it's not every state. It's just a couple of states are raising their prices and a bunch are not raising their prices at all. But here it is. In California, Connecticut, Massachusetts, New Jersey, and New York, that's where you're from, Vikran, the price will rise from $20 a month or $19.95 to $24 a month or $23.95 a month starting on January 9th, 2019. The monthly cost will increase to $21.95 or $22 a month for subscribers in Colorado, Delaware, Florida, Georgia, Illinois, Maryland, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Washington State, and DC. Pricing will remain at $19.95 in all the other states. The price for those who previously enrolled in A-List will stay without changing for 12 months after signing up. Okay, so let's just break that all down. Number one, if you signed up for A-List, no matter which state you live in, if you signed up for A-List, you get 1 full year from when you signed up at that $20 price point. All right? So if you just signed up for A-List last month, guess what? You got another 11 months at just $20. If you live in most of the states in the U.S., there's no price increase. If you live in, what were those, 10 or 11 states, your price is going to go up $2. And if you live in the more expensive movie-going states, like California, New York, the price is going to go up $4. So there's that. Here's what I think about this. Again, put it in the context that I set up with earlier. In October, I saw 7 movies. Now, not everybody can go see 7 movies a month. I get that, but I did. I went to go see 7 with my AMC card. I saw a bunch of other ones at screenings, but I went to 7 in theaters with my AMC A-List card. And I got $134 worth of tickets for $20. Do you think I'm going to sweat $4 extra? Oh no! Now I'm only getting $134 worth of tickets for $24? That's not a deal. Of course, it's still a deal. So for somebody like me, not everybody's like me, but for somebody like me, it's still a laughably good deal. And I don't even get the price raise for a number of months after that because, I get 12 full months of my $20 price point. But even when it goes to $24, it's not going to be a problem for me. But here's the thing. Let's say you're somebody else. Is it still worth it, Vikram? Is it still worth it for you in New York at $24 a month? Well, it depends on 2 things. It depends on your viewing habits and how much movie tickets are where you go. Now, for me, the average movie ticket price is about $20. Now, if I would just want to go to a regular 2D screening in just a regular theater, it's about $17. If I want to go to AMC Prime or IMAX, it's $22, $23, $24 for one movie. Just average it out to about $20 a ticket, right? So for me, seeing 2 movies a month makes it worth it. Because if I go to 2 movies a month at AMC Prime, that's almost $50 in tickets. And I get that for $24? Done. Great deal. However, let's say that you are somebody that goes to 1, maybe 2 movies a month. And the regular ticket prices where you live is like $9. Well, then in that case, honestly, for you, if you're only going to 1 or 2 movies a month and the average price of a ticket where you are is like $8.50, $9, then honestly, A-List isn't worth it for you. You're not going to get your value out of it. Now, Vikram, you live in New York, where I know the ticket prices are also expensive. So if you go to at least 2 movies a month, then yes, A-List, even at $24, is still totally worth it. If you're somebody like me that'll go to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 movies a month at the theater, then it's laughable how much of a deal it is. But it really isn't for everybody. Again, if you're one of those people where you go to 1 or 2 movies a month, I would say don't bother. Don't bother signing up for it. It's just, there's no value there for you. Unless you live in California, where even going to 1 movie a month, it pretty much pays for itself. So it all depends on your viewing habits and how much movie tickets are where you live. Do the math, and then honestly just look to see if it's worth it to you. If you can save $15, $20 a month by getting it, then get it. If you're not really saving anything by getting it, then don't get it. Really make that evaluation and make that decision for yourself, Vikram. All right. That will do it for all of the emailed in questions today. We're going to save some time now and go over and take some of your live questions. A bunch of you guys have been sending in live questions, so let's go over there right now and take those. And we are going to start off live questions today with Michael Jones, who writes, "Hey, John, you had a question on open mic about Venom, I think you mean Venom, catching Justice League at the box office. Well, Venom is at $551 million, and it opened in Japan this past weekend and opens in China this weekend, so it might. It's possible. Japan's not a huge box office country, though. Don't count on Japan adding a ton of money to the overall. I mean, it'll add some, but don't count on it to add a huge amount to the overall thing. China, sometimes a Western movie will get a big bump. I don't know that Venom will, though. So I'm still guessing that it will not catch Justice League. It's possible. Justice League came in around $650 million, so it would have to make another $110 million. I honestly don't think it's going to make $100 million in China. I don't. I hope it does. That would be. I mean, I really like Venom, and I had a blast with the Venom movie. I didn't think it's one of the top, 8, 9 films of the year, but I had a really good time with it, and I hope it gets every dollar of success that it can get. However, I just don't see that happening, which is fine. Look, it doesn't need to catch Justice League. It's already a bona fide hit. They are well into all they needed to do, the movie cost them around $100 million to make. Once they hit the $400 million mark, they were in the profit. Now they're well into profit. This movie is a bona fide hit for them. And the audience reaction's been very good. Not over the moon, but very good. So they don't need it to catch Justice League. So is it still possible? Well, yeah, it's possible. But is it probable? Nah, I still don't think it's probable. But hey, fingers crossed. Here's hoping I'm wrong about that. History Soup writes, Witcher should add Henry Cavill beard in post-production. Just kidding. Yeah, there are some people who were not so happy that Henry Cavill's picture from Witcher, he doesn't have any facial hair, which I don't think he needs to have facial hair, but whatever. And of course, that's the reverse, the opposite of people, of course, when he was in Justice League and he had his mustache, they had CGI'd out. I like the joke, though. They should CGI in a beard. That would be funny. James Welsh writes, when you did your March Madness animated tournament, oh, that's going back a number of years, Shrek was not on it. Nope. Why? It won the Oscar, and it's on AFI's top 10 animated films. That doesn't mean anything. First of all, I don't even think there should be an Oscar for Best Animated Film. That, to me, is a participation award. A movie is a movie is a movie. It doesn't matter if what medium it's in. It doesn't matter if it's animated, live action, stick figure, whatever. If it's a live action narrative, or if it's a narrative storytelling, then a movie is a movie is a movie. There should not be a Best Animated Film, because a Best Picture goes up against 500 other films. A Best Animated Film, at most, is really only up against 2 or 3 other legit competition. So yes, Shrek won an Oscar. Woo! But it only had 1 or 2 legit competitors against it. Yay! It won an Oscar, but it had no competition. So that doesn't mean anything. That means nothing. As far as top 10 on AFI's top 10, well, good for AFI. Yay, good for AFI. You know, we had, and look, I'm not saying you're wrong. Not at all. I'm not saying you're wrong for thinking Shrek should have been in there. But, you know, we had a number of us. We broke it down. There were some votes for Shrek to get into the top 36 because our tournament was 36 films. But at the end of the day, in consensus, and I like Shrek a lot. I do. But at the end of the day, we had consensus that, you know, Shrek, and I actually think Shrek 2 is even better than Shrek, did not deserve to replace any of the 36 we had on there. What are we going to do? Take off Toy Story 2 to make room for Shrek? I don't think so. Take off Princess Mononoke? I don't think so. Take off Grave of the Fireflies for it? I don't think so. Take off Lion King to make room for it? I don't think so. And really, that's what it came down to for us. We went through our 36. It's like, nope, we feel good about the 36. We had a group of about 5 or 6 of us. We all cast our votes. Some people had Shrek in there, but not by much. And at the end of the day, there are 36 other films that got more points. And we did our tournament, and we came down with our top 36, and Shrek didn't make the cut. It's just that simple. And again, I ain't saying you're wrong. Not at all. If you think it should have been in that list, you're not wrong. All film's subjective. But we had a group of people. We cast votes. We gave certain points for where on your top 36 list a movie came in. We added it all up, and Shrek didn't make the cut. So, yeah, there you have it. That's why it didn't make it in there. Tacky75 writes, no matter how cleverly you sneak up on a mirror, your reflection always, oh, that's a Robert De Niro quote, your reflection always looks you straight in the eye. Robert De Niro's Lucifer in Angel Heart. Great quote. And but yeah, you could get that in a tattoo, Tacky. You could put that on a tattoo. I'm not a tattoo guy, but you could put that in a tattoo. Ben Hayusa writes, I'm also looking forward to seeing Ralph Breaks the Internet. That first Wreck-It Ralph is like one of my favorite animated films. I agree. That first Wreck-It Ralph, what got me is that it struck that magical sweet spot of incredibly funny, but with great heart at the same time. A lot of animated films, a lot of good animated films, just go for great funny. And there's nothing wrong with that. But Wreck-It Ralph had great heart and great laughs, all at the same time. I think this movie, actually, Ralph Breaks the Internet, is a little late. I think this movie should have come out 2 years ago. But whatever, that's just me. But I think you will be happy. Again, I'll go into my review next week, but I think you will be happy with Ralph Breaks the Internet. Jeff Jones writes, Toy Story 4, I agree that Woody and Buzz will likely die. However, I would like to speculate one step more and think it will end with the toys in heaven where children will get to play with them for infinity and beyond. Oh, that's a beautiful notion, Jeff. I don't think that's what they're going to do. I don't think at all that's what they're going to do. It's a beautiful picture you're painting. It's absolutely a beautiful picture you're painting. And by the way, Jeff, I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced Woody or Buzz die. I mean, clearly, we talked about this the other day. Tom Hanks made some statements about just how difficult he found it to record the last scene. And he said he couldn't even look at his other castmates while he was doing it. He had to turn away from them to do it. And he said, when I realized what they were going for in the script, this cinematic history, I don't think that necessarily means Buzz or Woody die. Now, I'm certainly not saying they're not dying either. I'm simply putting it up there that, there are a bunch of people that are running with the assumption that Buzz or Woody or both bite it in Toy Story 4. And I'm not so sure that's true. I think there's like a big character dying. Is that cinematic history? We've seen big characters die. It's not necessarily cinematic history. But they totally could. They could. I think it might be something else, though. I think they could be going for something that we are totally not expecting, and it's going to come completely out of left field and not necessarily, well, at the end of the story, the main character dies. Well, we've seen that before. That wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing to do, but it's not exactly cinematic history. We have seen that before, many times. So, again, Jeff, I love that picture you're painting. To see a Woody and Buzz, fresh and new, playing with a young Andy again. I mean, that's a beautiful picture. I just don't think that's what they're going to do. And again, I just don't necessarily buy into the notion that they're necessarily going to die. They might, but I'm not going to go with that assumption. I'm just not at this point. Cannot wait to find out, though, Jeff. We don't have too much terribly longer to wait. All right. Ben Hayusa writes, oh, I love the Shrek movies. I'm actually thrilled about this. I like the idea. I do. I don't love all of the Shrek films, like I said off top, but Shrek 1's great. Shrek 2, I think, was even better. That first one with Prince Charming, that was even better. I really enjoy Shrek. Myers as Shrek, Eddie Murphy as Donkey, Antonio Banderas as Puss in Boots. I mean, and I love Jonathan Lithgow as Lord Farquaad. Well, that's how you said it, right? Farquaad? Anyway, Jonathan Lithgow as Farquaad was great. Of course, and then Dragon, and then Donkey Dragons, and I like the Shrek universe. I like the idea of coming back. But again, I think we need to get some clarity here over this whole use of the word reboot. We're rebooting. So who's going to voice Shrek? Oh, no, we're still bringing back all the original cast. Well, it's not really a reboot then, is it? It's not really a reboot. So I think we do need a little bit more clarity at this. And again, let's keep in mind, it's not necessarily even greenlit yet. They're putting it into development. They want to do it, but it hasn't been greenlit yet. So we're probably still a number of years away. We're probably, even if it happens, we're probably looking at probably 2022, 2023, something like that. So it's still a ways off. We got a long ways to go. But yeah, Ben, I like the news too. All right. Let's see. Marcus Robert Johnson writes, they shouldn't make a Red Dead Redemption movie for the same reason why Disney won't make a Mickey Mouse movie. Don't risk the image of the characters. Well, yeah, and I mentioned that same thing, Marcus, the other day. With the success and all the hype surrounding Red Dead Redemption 2, a lot of people understandably are wondering about, well, will a studio want to make a movie? Well, of course a studio will want to make a movie. The question is, will the game publisher want to make a movie? Because historically, yeah, like if you were a game publisher and a Hollywood studio wanted to make a movie about your game, yeah, you were dying for that. I don't know if that's true anymore. Because what's happened with video game movies? Well, they all suck. The last Tomb Raider was actually not bad. Maybe the best video game movie ever made. And all you can say about it was it wasn't bad. So I proposed on the show last week, and maybe even before that, I said, if you're Red Dead Redemption's game publisher, are you thinking, yeah, let's make a movie? Or are you thinking, you know what? Every video game movie has sucked. And if our IP right now, our brand, Red Dead Redemption, is really valuable right now, do we want to risk the image of our brand and our IP by putting out a movie that could end up being crap and it diminishes our IP? Because that could happen. Or are we better off just keeping in the video game world and start building towards Red Dead 3 in 3 or 4 or 5 years? And make sure that the brand and the IP is still strong and has a great image. So, yeah, I'm going to tell you what, I have no insider information here. I'm just telling you what I'm speculating. But I think there's a solid argument here to be made that the game publishers behind Red Dead won't let a studio make a movie. Honestly. I think they're going to be perfectly happy with what they got. But then again, money talks, man. Some studio backs up a dump truck full of gold bullion. They may change their minds. I'm Upset writes, thoughts on Rollerball with LL Cool J? Awful. Oh, it's awful. What was that? 2001, 2002, 2003, something like that. But you know what? It didn't have an awful cast. Like, what is the guy's name? Chris Klein was in it. LL Cool J was in it. Rebecca Romaine Stamos was in it. I love her. Former UFC legend Oleg Taktarov was in it. It had an interesting cast. But yes, it was absolute bullocks. It was just awful. Oh my God. Ben Rayner writes, did you see Mike Myers was on Fallon last night as Dr. Evil? Really funny. I hope Austin Powers 4 happens. I did not see that. I know he was on Colbert the other night. Myers was on Colbert promoting Bohemian Rhapsody. I'm sure he must have been on Fallon promoting Bohemian Rhapsody. But I did not see that, did not hear it. But I mean, come on. I've been wanting an Austin Powers 4 forever. I've loved all the Austin Powers movies. I have wanted more to come. I have never grown tired of the shtick. I have never gotten tired of the characters, either Austin himself or Dr. Evil. Obviously, it's a shame that if they do another Austin Powers at some point, there won't be Mini-Me. He obviously passed away, so that's a sad thought. But yeah, man, I'm totally down for more Austin Powers. I want one badly. Okay. Next question. I'm Upset writes, worst Tim Allen film. For me, it's Shaggy Dog. Oh, man, I don't know. I'd have to think about that. There are many bad Tim Allen films. Wild Hogs, anybody? I mean, there are many bad Tim Allen films. For me to just pull one off the top of my head is not something I can do. I'd have to sit down and look at a big list and think of them. But Shaggy Dog would have to be a high contender. Pelican Mike writes, would it be a good idea for Snyder to develop a comic book for his Justice League story? No. So fans who want to see his movie can see what it would have looked like? Nah. First of all, there's a couple problems. Number one, Snyder does not have the right to make a comic book out of DC characters. That's number one. He has no rights to do that. You can't do that. Warner Brothers would have to give him permission, and I don't see that happening. Number two, no one cares. I mean, really, and when I say no one, obviously that's hyperbole. There are clearly some people who do. But no, you don't put in the money and the expense to actually make that for a very small number of people that would actually buy it. So, number one, he couldn't do it even if he wanted to. Number two, there's no dollar value into doing it, so it would be a money loser. Number three, I want Zack Snyder to move. Guys, get over it. We got to get over this. And so does Zack. We got to get past this whole Justice League thing and Zack Snyder's DC universe. It's done. I still like Zack Snyder as a filmmaker. I don't want Zack Snyder spending his time and attention on something pointless like that. And I want him focusing his attention on getting back into making films. I want to see new Zack Snyder films that aren't comic book movies. That's where I want his time and attention. I don't want him wasting his time on something that the studio would never even let him do in the first place. And there's not a real big demographic who would want it. No one's going to really buy it. Again, hyperbole when I say nobody. Clearly some people do, but not enough. And is that really where filmmaker Zack Snyder should be putting his attention? And is spending 6 months to put a comic book together? Nah. I mean, look, I'm sure, Pelican Mike, there are a bunch of people who would agree with you. I'm absolutely sure in that. But since you're asking me, I got to say no. I don't see any value. I don't see any point, and I don't see any value in doing it. And I think it's just a giant waste of Zack Snyder's time when he could be using that time developing new Zack Snyder movies. That's what I'm interested in. But who knows? Like I said, Pelican Mike, I don't think you're alone in that. I think there are probably many, many people out there who are intrigued by your idea, but I just don't think it's worth doing. Dan Bondi writes, I'm a Catholic. That's stupid. I'm not going to read that. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go beyond that. That's an ignorant, idiotic thing to write. Uh, there we go. And remove that. But thank you for trolling and giving me $10 for trolling. I appreciate that. Marv Diesel writes, Gio, good day. Am I the only one who forgot the performance by the great Gary Oldman in Hannibal? Just rewatched it and almost forgot how good he was. Oh, no, we've talked about his performance in that a lot. I mean, you barely recognize him most of the movie. But yeah, he's great in it. It's also, I remember when I went back and watched it, though, I remember it's a smaller role than I remember. It's a smaller role than I remember. So, but yeah, no, I mean, we've talked about it on this show. So no, absolutely not. You are not the only one. Or are you the only one who forgot about the performance? Maybe, because I think a lot of us remember, like, that Hannibal movie he was in, he was like the shining part of that movie. Because it wasn't great. You know, on the scale of Hannibal on screen, that wasn't a great outing. But he was one of the shining spots in it. Let's see. Pelican Mike follows up with, what if Woody gets buried with Andy? Oh my God, that's dark. Way to go dark. You'd never recover. Oh my God, there'd be like millions of children in America that would have to go to therapy for the next 20 years. Oh God, that got dark real fast, Pelican Mike. No, I don't think they'll do that. Cameron Peterson writes, I'm just memorizing the details of her face. I don't know that one. I almost want to say Scent of a Woman, but I don't think that's it. You got me on that one. I don't know that one. Good one, Cameron. Dylan Ellis writes, did you hear about Kenneth Branagh's next film, All Is True? He will play Shakespeare in his final years, also stars Judi Dench and Ian McKellen. I have not heard about that, but oh my God, how perfect would that be? I mean, Kenneth Branagh really earned his medals doing Shakespeare. I mean, he's done a lot of Shakespeare in his career. That's where he really earned his rep. That's one of the reasons why he's so great, both as an actor and as a filmmaker. I mean, I wasn't really big on, I got to admit, I wasn't big on Murder on the Orient Express. I didn't think that was Kenneth Branagh's best outing. But aside from that, I love his filmmaking. I really do. And this sounds perfect. I mean, this sounds absolutely perfect. So no, I have not read about that, but oh my God, sign me up. That sounds amazing. Paul Baranick writes, great. Hopefully DC gets rebooted next. Talking about the Shrek thing. I mean, look, I've thought for a long time they need to reboot the DC universe. I think rebooting gave them their best chance of success, but clearly they're not. They're not going to reboot. And you know what? While rebooting was their best chance of success, it wasn't their only chance of success. This new strategy they have, this could work too. I don't think it has as high of a chance of working as rebooting did, but hey, it can still work. It can still work. So let's hang in there. Aquaman looks awesome. Can't wait to see Shazam. Patty Jenkins is still directing Wonder Woman 84. So there's that. I mean, this could still work, man. Let's keep our fingers crossed. JGPKC writes, John, when will you be watching Widows? Ooh, you know what? I don't know. That one's kind of fallen off my radar, despite the fact that look, the cast is stellar. Both the female leads and the male leads look absolutely stellar. I am looking forward to it a great deal, but it's kind of fallen off my radar because so much other stuff going on. So I'm not really sure. That's a good question. I will let you guys know as soon as I watch it, though, for sure. Paul Baranick writes, speaking of reboots, can't wait for the new Dune. I mean, if it ever happens. I mean, we've been talking about this. Denis Villeneuve, who, of course, directed Blade Runner 2049, Prisoners, a bunch of others. He's supposed to be doing this Dune remake. They've been talking about it forever. They've cast a couple of the roles, including Timothée Chalamet, who's supposed to be playing the lead. He, of course, was nominated for Best Actor for Call Me By My Name, or Call Me By Your Name. And then he's, of course, got Beautiful Boy with Steve Carell this year that he might end up getting another Academy Award nomination. He's been cast in the lead. So there's been some progress. But, man, this Dune thing is slow going. Slow going. I am with you, though, man. I really want to see this, too. Let's see. The Arthur writes, what's the name of the organization that does that awesome thing you do every Christmas with Anne that you take gifts to families in need? All right. Glad you brought that up because I was actually going to talk about this in a couple of weeks. So every year, Anne and I participate in Adopt a Family. And it's super easy. And guys, you just make somebody's year. It's simple. There are many organizations. Just call your local city hall, ask about your local Adopt a Family program. And then what happens is they assign to you, or they give you a few options of families, but you get a family, an underprivileged family living in your town. And then there's a rough list given there about some of the things they need. And then what you do is you give that family a Christmas. You give that family a Christmas. And you know what? Give me a second here. I'm just going to see if I can find this, because I like to bring this up every year because I want to encourage. It's such a simple thing to do, but it's so meaningful and it makes such an impact and with people, and it means so much to people. Let me see where it is here. Let me see if I can find it here. Okay, well, this is Ann and I'm going to bring this up here from last year. I believe this is us from last year. So basically what you do is, and of course this is Los Angeles, so there's no snow on the ground. So what you do is you find out what the needs of the family are, and then you go Christmas shopping for the family. And last year, Ann and I had this wonderful family. It was a single working mom with like 3 kids. One of the kids with special needs. And, no money for anything for a Christmas. So we were able to go Christmas shopping. We also got the family a gift card to a local grocery store and bought a bunch of presents. And then what you do is you then, on one designated day, you coordinate with the family. You go and deliver the presents. And I'm not going to talk about in depth because I freaking cry every time I do. But I'll never forget. We went, and I'm telling you all of this because I want you to understand the impact of it, and I want you to get involved with this year. Organize your friends, do it this year. But I remember going to the house. I had not met the family yet, but we showed up, and there was this little, 3-year-old girl, maybe 4, maybe 5, I don't know. And we put the presents down, and this little girl, I'm not going to cry, came sprinting up, dove into my arms, squeezed me, and would not let go for 5 minutes. Fuck! So, I think a lot of us take for granted the things that we have, right? I think a lot of us take for granted the advantages that we have in life. Guys, an Adopt a Family thing at Christmas, it's not just something you can do as an individual. It's a great opportunity to get friends together and say, let's together as a group. So it doesn't even cost that much if you get a bunch of you together, right? Let's together as a group adopt a family. Just call your local government agencies. They'll plug you into somebody. You guys get a family, and then as a group of friends, you can make this as a great team building or friendship building experience, where as a group of friends, you figure out, you all pool your money, you put your money all together, and then you go and give a family that's got shit, that's got nothing, and you can get to go, and give them shit, and give them an amazing Christmas, right? You can go and give them something, and it's incredible. Ann and I do this every year. And I like to promote as much as I can every year. I was going to start promoting in a couple of weeks, but thank you, that author, for bringing that up. And it's something you can, totally do, and do it with friends. Pitch in, because if you do it with a bunch of friends, it doesn't even cost that much money. And yeah, just go do it. It's an amazing thing, and I'm sure I'll talk about it more in coming weeks. Thanks for that. Alex Von Gollum. Alex Von Gollum writes. Where did Alex go? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, there it is. Hey, John, I saw Bohemian Rhapsody last weekend, and I really liked it. Me too. Whenever Aidan Gillian was on screen, I couldn't help but see Game of Thrones' Littlefinger. Didn't that happen to you too? Well, here's the thing. And of course, the dude who plays Littlefinger, he's in the movie. I've seen him in a number of other things. And I remember, I think the first thing I saw him in after seeing him in Game of Thrones was that Maze Runner movie. Or one of the sequels, whatever, right? But then after that, and I thought, now whenever I see this guy on screen, all I'm going to see is Littlefinger. But then, a couple years ago, I finally watched The Wire. Because a lot of people talk about The Wire being the greatest TV show ever made, and I had never watched it. So I went back and watched it, and he is a character in The Wire. And after I saw him in The Wire, that broke me of that habit of only being able to see him as Littlefinger. Now I don't. So if you want to break out of that mindset of only seeing him as Littlefinger, go watch him on The Wire. He's great in it, and it'll totally break you of that, and then you'll just see him as any other actor, as we should. So yeah, give that a shot. It might work out for you. But yeah, I was totally there before, man, when I used to see him come up on screen. Okay. Moat Arolin writes, hey, John, what are some songs that get you giddy or bug you right away when you think about the movie they were in? Immigrant Song from Thor, obviously. Shipping Up to Boston from The Departed, etc. Shipping Up to Boston, whenever I hear Shipping Up to Boston, all I think about is Forrest Griffin, the UFC fighter, because that was his entrance music. It's great. I love that tune. So I think about Forrest Griffin when I hear that song. Gosh, one of the ones, a really good song in a movie is a song that will teleport you instantly into that movie again. Doesn't matter how many years later it is. If you hear that song, it teleports you instantly back into the movie. For me, this is going to sound like a weird one. For me, it's Everything I Do It For You by Bryan Adams from the Kevin Costner's Robin Hood movie. Seriously, all I have to do is hear the first little piano bits. Ba, 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 and boom, my entire head goes right back into that movie. That's when you know you've got a great song-movie marriage. When just even a few notes of that take you. Now, obviously, there's like Titanic. That song will do that as well, but that's one of the big ones for me. All right. Had to jump here. Hold on a second. John Hine writes, okay, guys, we're already over time. I'm going to just blast through these next couple of ones because I want to make sure we get them all answered. John Hine writes, The Predator hit $160 million worldwide on an $88 million budget. Could have been a lot worse. Love the show. Thank you so much. Yeah, it still lost a lot of money. Because with that $88 million, you got to tack on about another $40 or $50 million for marketing that they did. Then with that $160 million, you just immediately take off 35% or roughly that much for the amount that the theaters keep. And all of a sudden now you're talking about a movie that lost money. It still lost money, but you're right, John. Could have been a lot worse. Maybe not all that much worse, but oh my God, can you imagine? Go back 1 year and tell somebody the Predator movie will make $160 million worldwide. There are a bunch of, like 2020 hindsight people go, oh, I could have told you it would have done that. No, you're lying. Maybe you could have told us it would flop, but even you didn't think that a Predator movie was going to hit only $160 million. No way. Actually, let me pull up something here. The Predator box office. Hold on a second here. Domestically, it didn't. Domestically, it's only made $50 million. It's only made $50 million domestically. Venom made almost double that on its opening weekend, and it made $50 million. Yeah, 159.7 million worldwide. I mean, no way. But the movie's bad. I mean, that's just the thing. The movie was bad, so there you go. Gio writes, Being Mr. Robot, great story, and Malik is great in it. Oh, Binging Mr. Robot. Yeah, you know what? I've never watched it. I've got a number of friends who just love that show. I've never watched it, but I've heard nothing but really good things about it. Shakran Khan writes, not movie related, but don't you agree that if LeBron was removed from the 2013 Miami team, they would have probably got to the finals anyway? No chance in hell. No. Good God, no. No, not a chance. No. God, no. I'll disagree with you on that, Con. I'll disagree with you on that. Alan Gonzalez writes, Andy dies. Possibly. Again, dark. Maybe a little darker than Pixar may want to go, but I suppose it's possible. Stubble McShave writes, did you see Rowan Atkinson on Colbert a few weeks ago where he brought down the house just holding a piece of paper without saying a word? No, but now I gotta look it up. I love Mr. Bean. He was probably promoting Johnny English, which I didn't even bother going to see. Look, I really like Johnny English 1 and 2, but the trailers for Johnny English 3 were so unbearably awful. Just so unbearably awful. I just couldn't bring myself to go see the movie. Just couldn't bring myself to do it. Because I like Johnny English, and I don't want to ruin that, and I haven't heard great things about it. But no, I will look that up on Colbert, though. I got to check that out. Razor's Edge Frisbee writes, John, that guy's trolling was a quote from Kingsman. Oh, was it? Well, then there you go. It's still not a great quote to share, though. Greg Schettino writes, speaking of reboots, can you reboot Jared Leto's Joker? Can you change the way he looks and acts as the Joker, but keep Leto in the role? Seems like we need a new Batman / Superman / Joker for the DCU. I don't know. Look, here's the thing, Greg. I'm unapologetic about this. I like Jared Leto's Joker. I did. I thought Jared Leto's Joker was solid. In an era when you're trying to do a new Joker that is completely distinct from all the other Jokers we had, yet still maintains the spirit of the Joker, I thought Leto's Joker was solid. I did. You may not have liked Suicide Squad. That's fine. But I liked, and as a matter of fact, one of my big problems with Suicide Squad was that it had too little of Jared Leto's Joker and Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn. I thought the two of them, particularly when they are on screen together, was the best part of that movie. And I like Suicide Squad, but I just thought the two of them together was the best part of that movie, and they did not give us enough of it. I don't know how you put Joker in a movie and make him a small little side character. That's the one part of all that and even the director of the film has come out and said that he regrets that. He now thinks that Joker should have been the main antagonist of the film, and he's absolutely right. Should have been. But yeah, I like Leto's Joker. I don't think you reboot it. Speedfire writes, am I crazy to think that Mary Poppins hits $1 billion? No, you're not crazy. I don't think it'll hit $1 billion. Not at all, actually. And they're projecting, what are they projecting? Like a $50 million opening weekend? I don't think it's going to be $1 billion. But look, it's Mary Poppins, for heaven's sakes. It's possible. It's possible. I don't think it's going to hit $1 billion, but it's possible. And final question is, Santez Henderson writes, here we are, Born to be Kings will always be the song, because that's a great one to bring up, for Highlander. That's all I think about. It does not matter what context I hear that song in. My head instantly goes to Highlander. I have in me the blood of kings. I have no rival. No man can be my equal. Highlander. One of my favorite all-time films ever made, in my top 10, always has been, always will be. So that's a good one too, Santez. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of this. Don't forget the John Campea Show will be back again tomorrow morning. By the way, guys, if you're here watching the show, why don't you just take a second, click on that subscribe button, become a subscriber to my YouTube channel, keep up to date on all the good stuff we got going on here. That'll do it for me for now, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. My name's John Campea, and until the next video, bye-bye.